Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Your easy guide to English words you need to know. Let's go exploring far and near.
Welcome to Great Smoky Mountains National Park. This is the most visited national park in the United States, sitting right on the border between North Carolina and Tennessee.
It really is. It's just a massive and beautiful landscape to explore.
And we have a very clear mission for this deep dive today. This conversation is specially designed for you, the listener.
Right, because you are learning English, and we want to help you discover this park while you practice.
Exactly. So I'm going to focus on your practical travel skills. We call this Travel Skills 101.
And I'll be taking you beyond the scenery. We're going to dive into the fascinating science and the very dramatic history of these mountains.
We'll cover the essential rules of the park, the phrasing you need to know, and the logistics for your trip.
Just so we're clear, when we say logistics, we just mean the practical details.
Right. Details like where to park your car and how to navigate the roads safely.
And just to give you a quick teaser of what's coming today, this single national park contains more species of trees than all of Europe combined.
Wow. And the human history here is really intense, too.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be talking about devastating logging disasters and even a massive government standoff over a promised road that was never finished.
It's a lot to cover. So let's jump right into the science.
Let's do it. The very first question most travelers ask when they arrive is quite simple.
Why are they called the Smokies?
Yes. When you stand at an overlook, you see this thick, beautiful blue mist covering the mountains.
It really does look like smoke rising from a fire.
It does, but it isn't smoke at all. It actually comes directly from the forest itself.
From the trees.
That's right. The trees naturally release invisible chemicals into the air.
Okay, so what are these chemicals?
Well, in science, we call them VOCs. That stands for volatile organic compounds.
Volatile organic compounds. That is a very long scientific name.
It is, but you don't need to remember it. Just know that these are natural chemicals breathed out by living plants.
Like when you smell a pine tree.
Exactly. If you have ever smelled the sharp, fresh scent of a pine tree, you are smelling those organic compounds.
So you have millions of trees breathing out these natural chemicals all day long.
Right, and when the bright sunlight hits these invisible chemicals floating in the air, they actually scatter the blue light from the sun.
Ah, I see. So that scattered blue light is what creates that famous smoky haze you see in all the photographs.
You got it. It's a perfect example of how alive the park is. And that brings us to a very important concept for understanding this environment.
Which is?
Biodiversity.
That's a great vocabulary word for our listeners. Bio means life, and diversity means a large variety.
Exactly. The Smokies have an incredible biodiversity. That just means there is a huge variety of different plants and animals all living together in one place.
And the best way to picture this biodiversity is to imagine the forest like a tall apartment building.
With different floors.
Yes, exactly. The very top layer is called the canopy. The canopy is made of the highest branches and leaves of the tallest trees.
Reaching up to get the most sunlight.
Right. Then below that canopy, you have a layer of smaller trees.
And below that, you have bushes and shrubs.
And finally, you have the forest floor right on the dirt.
Because there are so many layers and actually 6 major types of forest within the park, there are thousands of different homes for wildlife.
So different animals live on different floors of the forest.
Yes. Some small birds spend their entire lives high up in the canopy. They never even touch the ground.
Meanwhile, other animals spend their whole lives down in the damp soil.
And what's really fascinating is how closely all these different layers depend on each other.
You actually have a great story about a chemical called calcium that shows this. It really shows how fragile this balance is.
Yeah, the calcium story is a perfect example of nature's invisible connections.
Calcium is an essential mineral, right? It's the same mineral that makes human bones and teeth strong.
Exactly. And animals in the forest need it to survive, too. But up in the highest parts of the mountains, the park has a serious problem with acid rain.
Acid rain. That is rain mixed with pollution blowing in from distant cities.
Right. And when this heavy acidic rain falls, it washes the calcium completely out of the soil.
Well, if the calcium washes away, the animals are in trouble.
They are. But the forest has a natural defense system.
The dogwood trees.
Yes. Dogwood trees act like nature's mineral pumps.
How does that work?
They have very deep roots that reach far underground. They pull calcium from deep in the earth all the way up into their leaves.
So they bring the calcium back up.
Right. And in the autumn, those leaves fall to the forest floor, they break down, and they return the necessary calcium to the surface soil.
But here's where the balance gets upset. A sickness called dogwood anthracnose was accidentally introduced to the park,
It's a type of fungus,
and it is quickly killing the dogwood trees.
which is a huge problem. Without those trees acting as pumps, the calcium isn't coming back to the surface.
And that kicks off a heartbreaking chain reaction, doesn't it?
It really does. Down on the forest floor, you have small land snails.
And a snail absolutely needs calcium to grow its hard, protective shell.
Exactly. Because the dogwoods are dying, the snails can't find enough calcium in the dirt, so their populations are dropping fast.
Which directly impacts the birds living high up in the canopy.
Right, because many wild birds rely on eating those snails.
The female birds specifically need the rich calcium from the snail shells to lay strong, healthy eggs.
That's exactly the problem. Without the snails, the birds don't get the calcium.
So they lay weak eggs that easily break.
Yes, meaning they can't have healthy babies. So a fungus attacking a tree on the ground ends up threatening the birds flying high in the sky.
Everything is deeply connected.
It is. Understanding how fragile this ecosystem is really puts our role as visitors into perspective.
It does. And managing that human footprint is exactly why the park has overhauled its parking logistics recently.
That's a huge change for travelers. In the past, people could just drive in and park anywhere for free.
Not anymore. This is Travel Skills 101. If you're bringing a car, you need to understand the new parking tags.
What do visitors need to do?
You will need to buy a physical parking tag and display it clearly in your car window.
Is it required for everyone?
The rule is simple. If you park your car for more than 15 minutes, you must have a tag.
What if I just want to stop and take a quick picture?
If you just pull over for 3 minutes to take a quick photo of the mountains, you're fine. But for a hike, a picnic, or exploring a visitor center, the tag is absolutely required.
Are they expensive?
They're quite reasonable. A daily tag is $5, a weekly tag is $15, and an annual tag, which is good for the whole year, is $40.
That's not bad at all.
No, but here is the most important detail. When you buy the tag, you have to write your vehicle's license plate number on it.
Oh, so it's linked to your specific car.
Exactly. The license plate number on your tag must match your car perfectly. You cannot share it with another family.
And I imagine having a tag doesn't guarantee you a parking spot, right?
That is correct. A parking tag does not guarantee you an actual parking spot. The popular lots still fill up very fast.
So where can visitors actually buy these tags?
You can buy them online before your trip, which is easiest.
Good idea.
You can also get them inside the park at the main visitor centers, like Sugarlands or Oconaluftee, or you can buy them from automated fee kiosks located around the park.
Those kiosks are the small payment machines in the parking lots, right?
Yes, but I have a major travel warning for you about those machines. They only accept credit cards.
No cash.
No cash. And more importantly, they do not have tap-to-pay technology.
Oh, that's important to know.
Very important. You cannot just tap your phone or your smartwatch to buy a tag. You must bring a physical plastic credit card to insert into the machine.
That is a very useful tip. So once the listener has their parking tag displayed in the window, what are the best roads to drive?
You definitely need to know about Newfound Gap Road. It's the main road that cuts straight through the center of the park.
It's a beautiful winding drive.
It is. It connects Gatlinburg, Tennessee on the north side all the way over to Cherokee, North Carolina on the south side.
It takes you up to some incredible heights, too.
It really does. And speaking of heights, you should plan a trip up to Kuohi.
Kuohi. That peak used to be called Klingman's Dome, right?
Yes, it is the highest point in the entire national park. And here's a great strategy for Kuohi. If you wake up early, you can watch a spectacular sunrise right from the main parking lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you don't even have to step out of your car into the cold morning air to see it.
A sunrise from the warmth of the car sounds ideal. What about finding a good spot for the sunset?
For sunset, you want to drive down to Morton Overlook.
Now, an overlook is just a safe, paved area where you can pull your car off the main road to enjoy the view.
Exactly. But you have to be careful here. As you drive toward Morton Overlook, there is a small, unmarked pull-off right before it.
And people stop there.
Yes, a lot of tourists stop there by mistake.
Okay.
You need to keep driving until you see the actual stone plaque.
A permanent sign carved in stone.
Right. It clearly says Morton Overlook. That is where you'll get the perfect angle for the sunset.
Knowing the exact spot makes a big difference.
It sure does.
Now that we understand the modern roads cutting through the park, let's look back at the people who walked these mountains long before cars existed.
The human history here goes back thousands of years.
It does. The earliest deep roots belong to the Native American people, specifically the Cherokee.
They lived, farmed, and hunted throughout these valleys and mountains.
And they didn't just passively live in the forests, they actually engineered the landscape to fit their needs.
How so?
They created a unique feature in the park known as the balds.
Now, when we usually hear the English word bald, we think of a person with no hair.
Right.
But in the context of these mountains, what does a bald look like?
It's a very similar concept, just applied to nature. A mountain bald is a massive, wide-open, grassy meadow located right at the very summit of a mountain.
So instead of a peak covered in dense, dark trees.
It's completely open to the sky. It's covered only in grass and shrubs.
And the Cherokee people made these.
Yes. They originally cleared these mountaintops of trees so they could have wide-open spaces for hunting animals and gathering food.
And you can still hike up and see these grassy balds today.
You can. It's incredible that their changes to the landscape are still visible.
But the forests faced a much more violent and destructive change later on, didn't they?
Unfortunately, yes. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, large timber companies arrived.
The loggers.
Right. They looked at the massive old-growth trees in the Smokies and saw a fortune in wood. This started the logging era.
The goal was to cut down as many trees as possible to sell the timber.
And they nearly destroyed the entire ecosystem in the process.
They brought in some truly devastating industrial machinery to do it.
They did. They used massive steam-powered machines called skidders.
Skidders? What do they do?
A skidder used thick steel cables to grab heavy, cut logs and drag them violently down the side of the mountain.
That sounds incredibly destructive.
It was. As these giant logs scraped down the slopes, they crushed everything in their path.
They basically scraped the mountains down to the bare rock.
And without the trees and the roots to hold the dirt in place, the weather became a huge problem.
Because of the rain.
Yes. Whenever heavy rain fell, it caused catastrophic floods. The water easily washed away the topsoil.
The topsoil is that rich, dark dirt on the very surface where seeds grow.
Exactly. And once the topsoil washes down the river, the forest can't easily grow back.
The landscape was absolutely devastated.
And as if the logging wasn't bad enough, the forest suffered a second tragedy right around the same time.
This one involved the mighty chestnut trees, right?
Yes, the old-growth chestnut trees used to be the absolute kings of this forest.
They were gigantic. Some of them were 10 feet wide.
They made up about 30% of all the trees in the park.
But they weren't cut down by the loggers.
No. An invasive sickness, a fungus called a blight, swept through the mountains.
What happened?
By the year 1929, that blight had essentially wiped out every single mature chestnut tree.
That is hard to imagine. Millions of massive trees just died and fell over.
Right. So you have a landscape ruined by steam skidders, stripped of its topsoil, and filled with dead chestnut trees.
It looked like a wasteland.
It really did. The green, vibrant park you see today is actually the result of an incredible human rescue effort.
This happened during the 1930s, during the Great Depression.
The country's economy had collapsed and millions of people were out of work.
So the government started a massive program called the Civilian Conservation Corps.
Or the CCC.
Right, the CCC.
The CCC hired thousands of young, unemployed men and sent them into the mountains.
What did they do?
They lived in strict, organized camps and did incredibly hard physical labor to heal the ruined land.
They planted millions of new trees by hand, didn't they?
They did. They also built the beautiful stone bridges, the hiking trails, and the early roads. They essentially rebuilt the entire forest from the ground up.
It's a beautiful story of nature and humans recovering together.
It is.
But not every government project in this area has such a positive outcome for the local communities. The story of the Fontana Dam is completely different.
Yes, it is a very complex and heavy piece of history.
Let's talk about it.
In the early 1940s, the United States was deeply involved in World War II.
Right.
The government desperately needed a huge amount of electricity to power factories for the war effort.
So to get that power, they decided to build the massive Fontana Dam across a major river to create hydroelectricity.
But when you build a dam of that size, the water builds up behind it and creates a massive new lake.
And that river valley wasn't empty?
No, it wasn't. Over 1,300 local families lived in that river valley.
They had homes, farms, and deep roots there.
Because of the dam, nearly 12,000 acres of land were completely flooded. All those families were forced to pack up their entire lives and move away.
Their homes ended up deep underwater.
They did. Now, to help ease the pain of losing their homes, the government made a promise.
What was the promise?
Many of these displaced families had old family cemeteries high up on the hillsides.
So the graves didn't go underwater.
Right, but the roads to reach them did. So the government promised to build a brand new road through the mountains.
That way, the families could still drive up and visit the graves of their ancestors.
Exactly. But that road became the center of a huge controversy.
Because building a new road meant blasting through miles of pristine, protected forest.
Environmental groups strongly protested. They argued that carving a new highway into the mountainside would devastate the fragile ecosystem and cause terrible pollution.
This created a massive, decades-long standoff.
It did. On one hand, you had the displaced families demanding access to their family cemeteries, exactly as the government had promised them.
And on the other hand, you had environmental groups fighting to protect the natural landscape from destruction.
The gridlock lasted for over 60 years. The road project simply stopped in the middle of the woods.
And locals started calling it the road to nowhere.
Yes, it wasn't until the year 2010 that a final decision was reached.
What happened?
The government officially stopped the road project forever. Instead of finishing the road, they provided the local county with a financial settlement of $52 million.
Wow. It's a powerful reminder that the human history here is just as complicated and layered as the natural ecosystem.
It really is.
Well, speaking of the natural ecosystem, let's talk about the incredible wildlife you can see in the park today.
And how to stay safe around them.
Yes, very important. When most people think of the Great Smoky Mountains, they immediately picture the black bears.
The park is famous for them, but there's a very strict, unbreakable rule. You must never, ever feed the bears.
It sounds obvious now, but people used to treat the bears like pets.
They did. Decades ago, tourists would just stop their cars on the road, roll down the windows, and hand food directly to the wild bears.
It was incredibly dangerous because it taught the bears to associate humans with food.
Right. And the culture of the national parks had to change drastically after a terrible tragedy in 1967.
That didn't happen in the Smokies, though, did it?
No, it happened up in Glacier National Park. Wild bears, who had grown used to eating human food and garbage, actually attacked and killed visitors.
That is awful.
It was. After that, the Park Service realized they had to make strict rules. It became illegal to feed any wildlife, and they installed heavy bear-proof garbage cans throughout all the parks.
So rule number 1, respect the wildlife from a distance.
Absolutely. Now, if you want a fantastic, safe place to observe animals and history at the same time, you have to visit Cades Cove.
Cades Cove is stunning. It's a wide, scenic green valley surrounded by mountains.
There is an 11-mile loop road that circles the entire valley.
And as you drive that loop, you can pull over to explore authentic historic buildings.
Like the old cabins?
Yes. For example, you can walk through the John Oliver cabin, which is a real log home built way back in 1818.
That's amazing.
But my absolute favorite travel tip for Cades Cove involves how you get around. It's called Vehicle-Free Wednesdays.
Vehicle-Free Wednesdays, how does that work?
From the month of May through September, every single Wednesday, the park closes the entire 11-mile loop to cars.
No motor vehicles at all?
None. No cars are allowed. The road is open exclusively for people walking and riding bicycles.
Wow. That must completely change the experience.
It really does. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and you can really hear the sounds of the valley.
Biking through the valley sounds incredible, but you still need to be careful with the wildlife, right? Even the birds.
Absolutely. And here's a funny but very serious warning for you. Watch out for the wild turkeys.
The turkeys?
Yes. Wild turkeys in the Smokies are large, heavy birds, and they are not afraid of humans.
Good to know.
If you get too close to them, they feel threatened, and they will actively chase and attack you.
I will definitely admire the turkeys from far away.
Good plan. Give them plenty of space.
You know, if you want to leave the valley and head up into the mountains on foot, you need to understand hiking trails.
And that brings up a great vocabulary phrase for our learners. Elevation gain.
Elevation just means how high up you are.
Right. But elevation gain refers to exactly how many feet or meters a trail climbs upward, from the starting point to the finish line.
It's the best way to know how difficult a hike will be.
Exactly. If a trail is 5 miles long, but has 0 elevation gain, it's a flat, easy walk.
But if you look at a famous trail like the Chimney Tops Trail, the numbers tell a different story.
They certainly do. The Chimney Tops Trail had an elevation gain of 1,400 feet in just 2 miles of walking.
That means you are basically climbing straight up a steep staircase for 2 miles.
It is a burning, exhausting workout for your legs.
The views at the top are spectacular, but you have to be physically prepared for that kind of steep climb.
It rewards the effort, that's for sure.
From the quiet valleys of Cades Cove to the steep peaks of the Chimney Tops, this park really asks you to engage with it.
We have covered so much ground today. You've practiced some fantastic English vocabulary.
Words like biodiversity, canopy, elevation gain, and logistics.
You know exactly how the parking tags work. You know not to expect tap to pay at the kiosks. And you know to give the wild turkeys plenty of room.
You are perfectly prepared to navigate the roads, understand the science of the blue haze, and appreciate the deep history of the Great Smoky Mountains.
Before we close our deep dive today, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought to consider during your travels.
We talked about how aggressive human logging almost destroyed this ecosystem a century ago.
And how the massive chestnut trees were wiped out by a blight.
But the trees are facing a brand new threat today.
They are.
Currently, there is a tiny invasive insect called the hemlock woolly adelgid spreading through the park.
These tiny bugs are attacking and killing the giant ancient eastern hemlock trees.
It is a massive threat to the current balance of the forest. So as you stand at Morton Overlook, watching the sunset over that famous blue haze, ask yourself something.
What will this forest look like in another 100 years?
Will the trees adapt and survive this insect invasion, or will the Smokies completely change their colors, their canopy, and their wildlife for the travelers of the future?
It is a profound question to think about as you explore the trails. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
We hope you use your new English skills and your travel knowledge to have an incredible, safe adventure.
Have a wonderful trip and keep practicing your English out there in the mountains. We'll see you on the next deep dive.